Hello everyone, this is Matty Fresh from megapoker.net. This is the Learn to Play Poker video series, the third installment, pre-flop and post-flop betting strategy such as continuation betting, pro betting, and other betting strategies. Basically we're just going to go through hands and I'm going to explain the proper play or the recommended play for the situation. Ace-10 suited is a fairly strong holding. It's not a premium hand. It should not be looked at as a premium hand. You're facing a raise from a middle position. That, to me, indicates a hand of probably equal or similar strength. So I'm going to call this bet and see what the flop reveals. At this point, you've flopped mid-pair with top kicker. Strong bad has made what I believe to be a continuation bet. A continuation bet, simply put, is when you raise pre-flop, you follow up with another bet after the flop regardless of what happens with your hand. If you miss with your hand or you hit, you make a bet around half the pot, and it helps conceal your hand's strength and keeps opponents guessing on whether or not you actually have a piece. So I'm not convinced that Strong Bad has his beat. I think he's making a continuation bet on a missed hand, so I'm going to raise it up and see what we find out. Strong Bad's going to check. At this point there's a flush, and straight possibilities out there. Strong Bad slowed down, so we're going to try to take control and take the pot. He throws in a raise. At this point I think we're done with the hand. Queen 10 suited isn't definitely not a raising hand. To under the gun raise, we're definitely going to lay it down. Hands like Queen 10 suited and Queen Jack suited, you just need to find ways to lay it down, discipline yourself, and don't fall into trapping yourself with mediocre hands that you overvalue. Pocket jacks, this is definitely probably a continuation bet situation. In middle position, your pre-flop raise should be between 3 and 4 times the blind. I'm going to make that raise of 4 times the blind, and we'll see what happens. Actually, this is a really horrible flop for pocket jacks. There's 2 overs, and aces and queens are very common in raised pots, obviously. Strong Bad checked it over, and since you raised pre-flop, you want to follow up on your strength, so that way you have a chance of taking the pot right here. Once again, the pot's at almost $20, so your bet should be around $10. I'm going to make half the pot size bet, and Strong Bad check raise is all in. At this point, he's telling you he has an ace or a queen, maybe pocket king, so he's telling you he's beat by going all in over the top, so we're going to get away from our jacks. Pocket queens were a lot stronger. Trogdor raised it up, a 4 times raise. It depends how you want to play, how aggressive of a player you are. You could simply call here, or you could raise it up. You want to try to get hands like ace-jack, ace-queen out of the hand if possible. You want to keep away from aces, lower aces, people that like to play aces to raises. So we're going to be aggressive here and raise it up, and try to protect our hand. Trogdor is going to raise up again. What that tells me is he's on an ace-king suited, aces or kings, maybe jacks, but at this point, I think a flop needs to be seen before that can be deduced. At this point, Trogdor folding tells me that he had probably like pocket 10s or 9s. Oliver's making a bet. He called all the way, so he's representing a king. But with such a strong holding, disciplined players will lay it down. For the purpose of this simulation, I'm going to call. At this point, an ace has come out. You now have the nut flush draw. You're getting 5 to 1 to call, and you're 4 to 1 to hit your flush. You're getting the proper odds to call, and you miss your flush and your straight. Your queens are most certainly beat at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and follow up and show you guys that the read was probably right. You make the call and he has trip aces. He represented a hand of that strength, so you see why paying attention to opponents' betting patterns is important. We have pocket tens now. In middle position, we're going to throw in a raise of 4 times. And this isn't a bad flop for you. There's 1 over, 2 unders. Queens are a little less common than aces and kings in raised pots. This is definitely a continuation bet situation. You're going to throw in a bet. He raises you. I'm not entirely convinced. I'm going to throw in a raise over the top, and he lays down his hand. He was probably on ace-king. Queen Jack in early position. This is a fairly weak trap hand. It's not a raising hand, so when you pick it up, don't think, oh, I have 2 suited face cards, I'm going to raise it up because this is an awesome hand. At this point, you're getting offered 2 to 1. You have money in the pot. You have a decent drawing hand, and that's exactly what it is. It's a high suited connector. You're going to see a flop. Now at this point, this is a pretty good flop for you. You have a flush draw. You're 2 to 1 to hit it. Overall, the 4 to 1 odds twice. The ace is out, so you don't have much to worry about. You're getting the right odds to call right now, I believe. So you make the call and you hit your flush on the turn. You probably have the nuts at this point, unless he has 3-4 of hearts, which is very unlikely in a raised pot. You're going to just call here and try to lure him in. There's a straight on the board, but you have the second nut flush at this point. He bets it pretty tough. Since you only have 300 left, you're going to go all in over the top. He makes the call, and you show your flush and double up. And that's basically just by taking a look at pot odds and such, and taking a look at how your opponent's betting, and looking for the right odds to call. Pocket tens under the gun. This is definitely a raising situation. I'm going to make it a little bit more than 2 times the big blind. Also, don't ever raise based on the strength of your hand. Standardizing your raises is the smart thing to do, where you raise a similar range with all your raising hands. For example, you raise 2 times with tens and 2 times with aces, but if you decide to raise 3 times, that doesn't mean you have a better hand. It's just you're mixing up your betting patterns to keep opponents guessing. Now at this point, against 2 opponents and a pocket pair, it's very unlikely that someone has a queen. So we're going to bet at this and make a continuation bet of half the pot. Ned raises all in. Again, this could mean a lot of things. He could have a queen, he could have a pocket pair, or he could be playing an ace-king. Since we're just simulating and talking betting strategy here, I'm going to go ahead and call. And he's on ace-queen, and you're hopelessly dominated and dead to a 10. Again, I don't advise, if you think you're beat, just fold. It's not that difficult. Pocket tens again. In the big blind, this is probably a check situation, and this is a good chance to throw out a probe bet. If you flop the set, this is a very strong holding. However, slow playing in this situation is an awful idea because there's straight draw and flush draw possibilities against 2 opponents. A probe bet at this point, which is usually a little less than half the pot, anywhere from a third to half. This is to get information from your opponents. If they raise you, they're indicating more strength. It's a good strategy when you enter a pot or call a raise. It's a form of, it's sort of like the opposite of a continuation bet. Instead of raising and then showing strength, you're calling and then showing strength. So we're going to make a pro bet here. The pot's $6. We're going to bet $2.50 and see where we're at. You get 1 caller. At this point, you've improved to a full house. So flushes and straights, you don't have to worry about it. At this point, you can implement a slow play if you want. Simply call. There's now a flush on the board. You can either check here and try to induce a bet, but just so he doesn't check, you want to make sure you can get the most out of your hands. The pot's at 34. I'm going to bet $10 as a value bet and try to get some out of it. And he lays it down knowing he's beat. And that just about wraps it up. So, for more information on this while you wait for the next video installment, visit www.mega-poker.net. Thank you.